Welcome to our channel, Bravo News. Bloodlines and Backlash. The McBee boys finally break their silence. The unraveling begins. The Missouri sun beat down on the sprawling McBee ranch, but inside the family home, storm clouds had gathered. Jesse, Cole, and Braden McBee sat across from each other at the long wooden table where they'd once shared steak dinners and cattle auction strategies. Today, they weren't talking about bulls or harvests. Today, they were talking about Steve McBee, their father, their boss, and now the man at the center of a spiraling legal nightmare. It started quietly, whispers in town, questions from investors, and a few too many nights where Steve didn't come home. But when federal agents showed up at the ranch gates with subpoenas and scowls, everything changed. Now, the McBee boys were ready to break their silence, and the truth would stampede louder than any heard. A legacy of secrets. Steve McBee had built an empire from dirt and muscle. Thousands of acres, millions in beef exports, a brand recognized across the Midwest, tough, traditional, and untouchable. To the outside world, he was the ranch king. To his sons, he was something else, brilliant, exacting, and terrifyingly manipulative. Cole was the first to speak up. Dad told us from the start, we don't ask questions about the books. We just run the ranch. Jesse nodded grimly. He said we needed plausible deniability. I didn't even know what that meant until we got our first lawyer letter. Braden, the youngest, fidgeted. He used to tell me, "You're the face of the future, son." But he was building a future on lies. The cameras were rolling. They were filming the new season of The McBee Dynasty, and producers promised a fresh direction. Truth. And the truth was messier than the mud in the cattle pens. The paper trail. The first real crack came from an unlikely source, a former intern named Galina Soltkowska, who had once dated Steve and had insider knowledge of the ranch's finances. Galina had left quietly, but months later she resurfaced with a vengeance and a USB drive. On it, emails, off-the-books payments, real estate holdings in offshore accounts, and most damning of all, documents that showed Steve had falsified USDA certifications on hundreds of beef shipments. The McBee family lawyer, Harold Krentz, had tried to contain the fallout, but as soon as the feds got involved, there was no putting the genie in the bottle. "We were selling lies with a side of steak," Jesse muttered. And none of us knew how deep it went. Behind the cameras. The reality show had been Steve's idea, a brilliant PR move meant to transform the McBee legacy into American mythology. But now producers were salivating over a different kind of story. Scandal. Cole remembered the moment the tide turned. The producers asked me if I thought my dad could go to jail. They didn't even blink. They were already writing the episode titles in their heads. Despite warnings from their legal team, the boys decided to go on record together. "We're not protecting him anymore," Braden said, eyes blazing. "He raised us to be tough, but he also raised us in a house of mirrors, and the reflections are breaking." The confrontation. They staged it carefully. Cameras set up discreetly in the barn office, with sound techs hiding behind hay bales. Steve was lured in under the pretense of filming a scene about the upcoming cattle auction. Instead, he walked into an ambush. Jesse stood first. "We know about Galina, about the offshore accounts, about the fake grading reports." Steve's eyes narrowed. "You think you know, but you don't understand the business." Braden stepped in. "What business? Lying? Laundering money through livestock?" "Watch your mouth, boy," Steve snapped. But Cole didn't flinch. "You made us part of this. You put us on TV. You made us your soldiers. Now we're giving the public what they deserve." Steve stared at them, a man cornered not by feds, but by his own blood. Then he said, quietly, "You ungrateful little bastards," and walked out. Fallout and family lines. Public reaction was immediate. The McBee Dynasty subreddit exploded. Twitter, or X now, flooded with hashtags. Hashtag free the McBee boys. Hashtag ranch fraud. Hashtag Galena was right. Even longtime fans were shocked by the rawness of the confrontation. Producers decided to release the footage early as a mid-season emergency episode. Ratings soared. Meanwhile, the boys braced themselves. "I don't know what happens next," Jesse admitted. "He's still our father, but he's not our future. That ends here." Back on the ranch, Steve retreated into silence. Lawyers circled like vultures, investors withdrew, USDA suspended contracts, and the boys, they took over. For the first time, they renamed the ranch McBee Legacy without lies. Rebuilding from the rubble. The next few months were hell. They lost half their herd due to supply chain issues. Staff walked out. Local banks refused to refinance loans. But the boys were united in a way they'd never been before. Braden took over the marketing, launching transparency videos. Jesse handled the logistics. Cole met with federal agents, not as a suspect, but as a whistleblower. When Steve was officially indicted, they didn't celebrate. They didn't speak to the press. They just worked. Hard. Braden posted a TikTok one night, muddy and exhausted. "My dad built this empire on image. We're building it on truth. It'll take longer, but it'll last." The video got 3.2 million views. Redemption is a rough ride. The new season of McBee Dynasty took a darker, more honest tone. The brothers received praise and threats. Some ranchers called them traitors. Others saw them as heroes. Galena Solkovska reappeared in a shocking reunion episode, this time in a lawyer's office, clarifying the depth of Steve's schemes. "I didn't come forward because I wanted revenge," she said. "I came forward because those boys deserve better than the lies they were born into." The world saw a new kind of McBee, one that wasn't afraid to bleed. The verdict and the viewers. A year later, Steve McBee stood trial. The charges? Wire fraud, tax evasion, forgery, racketeering. He was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. The courtroom was filled with press and the three sons, sitting silently in the front row. When the sentence was read, Steve looked at his boys and said one word: "Good luck." Then he was led away. A new breed of McBee. Today, the McBee ranch is smaller, humbler, but alive. They host student agriculture programs, live stream births during calving season, sell beef through a transparent pasture-to-plate app built by Braden himself. A new docu-series is in development, this one titled McBee, Reclaimed. Cole, now engaged, plans to open a sustainable meat processing plant. Jesse writes a memoir. Braden speaks at universities about business ethics and accountability. The past still haunts them, but they aren't running. As Braden put it best in the final scene of the season, "We didn't choose to be born into this dynasty, but we did choose what to do with it once the truth came out. That's our legacy now, not his." Bloodlines forged in fire. A viral clip made rounds months later. The three McBee boys sitting on a truck bed under the Missouri stars, passing a bottle of bourbon. "Think Dad watches us from prison?" Jesse asked. "Probably critiques the lighting," Cole laughed. Braden smiled, looking at the camera. "Let him. We're not acting anymore. This is real." And for the first time, the McBee name meant something that didn't need to be hidden. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to our channel for regular updates.